variable of success in the business that you're running is content creation that makes sense of the moment. Even though this has been ad nausea, what I've been talking about for a decade, the stakes are so uncomfortably high for the people in this room because of two things. One, the platforms that have the attention are changing right now, and every time they change, crazy shit happens. Leaders lose market share, and hungry emergers take market share, which is fun because there's people winning here and there's people that are trying to get more, so it touches everyone in here. And I'll go into why 2 days ago, in a breakfast meeting with 4 key members of my content team, we took Instagram from the #1 priority spot to the #5 priority spot. Like, to give you context of how serious, like, the timing of this talk is awesome, so yay. So I want to talk a lot about that, but I also want to talk about why. Whether it's literally, I think this is now obvious, running for office in any politics around the world, whether it's selling sneakers, whether it's becoming famous, like everything is about supply and demand. Demand is something one has to create. That has been done a million different ways through the test of time. As a real estate agent in the 80s, it was really being the queen or king of your local area, whether it was bench ads or direct mail or being ridiculously involved in the local sports or the PTA. Like, you just physically networked. In 2023, it is virtually networking, right? It starts with content, and then it comes down to, like, how much in the grind are you? When you saw that, I know people were getting settled, but if you saw that video, that little reply email, like, I'm in for 15 at like 1 in the morning, I wrote that. Every DM or reply that anybody has ever gotten here from my account is me. There's no some weird fucking intern in Japan doing that shit. That's why we have a Team Gary account. Team Gary may reply because just of scale, but most people get fancy before they've earned it. There's a lot of people at this conference, in this room right now, talking big game, but aren't actually willing to put in the dirt work in the trenches to get what their mouth is saying. And the reason I'm double motivated is not only is the content framework changing in front of our eyes, and I've always, over the last decade, have won in those shifts, and that's why we're going to win again, and that's why I'm desperate for the 13 people that really listen to me today and do something about it. They're going to win. But it's also happening when this industry is about to have a macro issue, which means it's supply and demand. Not only is it important to win when there's an attention shift, there's even double importance when your macro industry is going to get squeezed, and there is no confusion to anybody in this room that the macro industry is going to get squeezed because the math is clear as day. You can be optimistic as fuck and delusional and put your head in the sand, you're more than welcome. But the reality is shit's about to hit the fan in some shape or form. Nobody knows if it's this, that. I don't know if it's 08, I don't know if it's 01, I don't know if it's 87, but the math is clear. And so, I don't know. You're more than welcome to have a strategy that looks like this. I hope shit stays good. Or you can look at what has already happened, and depending on where you are in the country, some of you have already felt it. And then the people that haven't felt it are making up dumb things like, well, they're feeling it, but we're not going to feel it. Our market's different. The macro market is going to be affected. So, what gets super fun about that is all these fucking talks of the last decade of my life have been all about timing. This is all timing. And so I come to you this morning in what I believe is perfect timing, like literally perfect timing, and I hope this framework of like what I just said really gets some people's attention to double down on whatever they're feeling, whether that's fear or ambition. I hope you fucking double down, and what I want you to double down on is content. It's as simple as that. Let there be no confusion. I don't care how great your reputation is. I don't care how many contacts you have in your cell phone. What you're doing by not going all in on content is leaving opportunity on the table. It's not that you're going to go out of business. It's that somebody sitting next to you's cousin that's in the same market as you is going to pick up market share against you if they go into content when they're not as good as you. Or if you're really good, you're just leaving being double the size of your business. Now, this is real talk now, back to mentality. A lot of people here might not want it. And I mean that. Like, to me, this is about, do you want to grow the business? I don't think everyone should grow a business. You might be in the life cycle where you want to spend more time with your family, you want to chill out, maybe you're selling, that's all good. Everything that I'm talking about is strictly, do you want it to grow? And sometimes grow is important because if we are right, body, energy-wise, that the macro market gets squeezing, one of the reasons you need it to grow is so it stays at the same level that you're at right now. You're fighting for opportunity. You all know this. How many people have been in this game for over 15 years? Raise your hand. Raise them higher, just so I get a sense. This is awesome. So you 15-year plus OGs know exactly what I'm about to say, which is, when the market is awesome, even F players make money. And they think they're A players, but they're not, because the market, right? You've seen it. That's what's about to happen right now. And it's a tricky one, right? Because for some of the 15 plus OGs in this room, you just might not have as much energy as you did 20 years ago when you crushed during a down market. You might have got a little soft. You like fishing on the weekend, right? You, instead of grinding email, you like, and so this is just real, where am I at as a human being? Not everybody should triple down and bleed for it this period, because maybe you're not in that place, maybe you've been saving your money and you still want to, and that's awesome. But for anybody who does, or for anybody who needs to because you've been living a bigger lifestyle than you can actually afford and you don't have savings and the market really needs to be where it's at, you need to get very serious with me in this session about the following. If you are not producing 10, 15, 20 pieces of internet content for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, all these platforms a day, you are vulnerable. And it's a big ass number for the people in here that are making 2 a week. When I'm out here, I want you to put out 15 pieces of content a day, and it doesn't mean 15 original pieces of content that you make. It means, do you do a podcast? I mean, look at my content. How many people here follow me? Give me a sense. Thank you. So for the people that raise your hand, you see it. I'm not out here, I'm not fucking dancing on TikTok. I'm not fucking spending time to make content. I'm living my life, created a framework that allows me to produce post-production. As much as I love the origin story of how I got to this stage with that video, because I love his hustle and I love everything about what I just saw, the single reason I'm here, and my speaking fee is not low, but the single reason I am on stage right now is for the content. The single reason I am on stage right this second, the only reason I do podcasts with other people, which is why often you see me put people on and do their first podcast, is because I'm not doing it because I'm trying to get audience from their podcast. I don't need Rogan. I want to put some kid on that's on the way, because the real reason I'm doing it is, 1, to do karma and put the next generation on, and 2, I just need the content for me. It doesn't matter who's asking me the question. I need my answer, and I need to chop it the fuck up, and I need to pound it down your fucking throats on every platform in the world. Got it? So a lot of people in all these business circles, and you probably sense this, so many people come up to me every day, DM, real life, it happened already twice here. So many people sense that I'm slightly different, and it's because I am. And what I'm just trying to do is get all of you to be different with me because it works. And it's good. But what it requires is a lot of self-awareness. The biggest reason people don't win and have stopped, the people in here who have stopped doing a lot of content because they don't see the ROI, is only because they didn't put themselves in a position to succeed. It's like getting into better shape, right? Cool, you can starve yourself for 2 weeks. That's not sustainable. Cool, you could if you don't find something that works for you forever, you won't do it. So if you're a real business person like I am, spending 3 hours a day to make videos is not gonna work for you. You got family, you got a business to run. But can you do a podcast once a week strictly for the 13 pieces of content it produces for you because you film it and post-produce it? All of you can, because I'm busy as fuck and I do it. So what we need to figure out today is a couple things. By the way, not everybody here should be on video. Because you're not good at it, or because you can get better at it, maybe you just really don't like it, comma, you're an unbelievable writer. And that writing can be absolutely transcribed into post-production videos. Like maybe you're more comfortable you love talking, but something happens when the camera goes on you. And and I'm empathetic. I get all the DMs, I read them. People don't like the way they look, their weight, women's, all the lady entrepreneurs are like, easy for you, Gary, I gotta do makeup and fucking hair. And I'm like, I get it. I'm like, or you don't give a fuck what people think of your looks. Right? Like seriously. And by the way, we need self-esteem of who we are as human beings, not how much money we make or what we look like. That's how you get to making videos fast. And by the way, all those people that shit on you and say you fucking look terrible, feel bad for them, don't feel bad for you. Imagine living a life where you go around social media and try to make people feel sad. You know how fucked up sad your life is? Don't feel bad for you, feel bad for them. You need to figure out a sustainable model to produce content. Let me talk to you about something I call underpriced attention. For the last 15 years, I've built my entire career on underpriced attention. Whatever the attention of the world was on, that most people didn't understand that the world was on it yet, is where I produced the most content and went the hardest. I know a lot of you had all sorts of feelings when I was pushing Musical.ly and TikTok 6 years ago. That was gonna be the one that I was gonna be wrong about. What you have to pay attention to is where are people actually consuming? And don't make up excuses like, well, Gary, my customers aren't on TikTok. Because that's what you all did 24 months ago, and now all your customers are on TikTok, right? Yeah. So what we need to talk about is underpriced attention. Why was I doing email in 1997 for my dad's wine shop? Because I had 93% open rates. That's a long time ago. That newsletter now gets 18% open rates. Why was I doing Facebook fan pages like Ham in 2012 and 13? For the people that were doing it here, you know why. And then Instagram, and then this. So it's always moving. Let me give you, straight from the horse's mouth, where the underpriced attention sits right now. Number one, this is wild. Facebook fan pages. Let me throw a bomb at you. For 3 years, I didn't even think about Facebook. Between big corporations that VaynerMedia works with, canceling Facebook because of the politics and the Trump stuff and the Democrat stuff and all the politics, you have big companies like, I don't know if this is exactly true, but companies like BMW and Coca-Cola and all these that used to pour 50 million in have gone to zero. Then, for some of you that definitely are in the trenches with DTC and retargeting, iOS 14.5 fucked up people that really know how to do math, right? So that took away another $1 trillion of DTC brands that you'd go to their website, you wouldn't fill out the shopping cart. You know this, you saw it, they followed you everywhere. You didn't buy the sneakers, you saw the sneaker ad 800 times until you just fucking gave up and bought the sneakers because you didn't want to see the fucking ad. So that money's gone. All of this, I love when everyone's like, Gary, the algorithm fucked me. The algorithm did not fuck you, Sarah. You're just not interesting as you were 6 months ago, or aren't changing, or your audience is changing, or somebody else. The algorithm is unemotional and just wants money, and just wants attention. Nobody's shadow banned here. You just suck now. So what happens is it's all supply and demand. How many people post organically? How many people run ads? How many people are on the other side consuming? Facebook, as I'm sure we all know, is not in the consuming place it was in 2015 because Instagram and TikTok and other things have taken away. What just happened though is the stuff that's coming in on the supply has gone down so much on the ad side that the organic Facebook fan page content is exploding. I couldn't give a bigger piece of advice than telling all of you, especially some of the young dogs in here who never even did Facebook. They started with Instagram, to get very serious about Facebook fan pages. And for this industry, the age demo that's on there, it's really important. I would get your Facebook fan page game up, number one. Number two, YouTube Shorts. I don't know if this has hit your radar yet. How many people here, and don't lie, because I'll look it up and then call you out and destroy your brain. Raise your hand if you're actively making content for YouTube Shorts. Raise your hand. Very solid. But this is great. Look what just happened. A, that's solid. Great stuff. Like this is fairly early, last 6 months, 9 months. But look, this is a pretty legit crowd. We got some hands up, but 95%, 98% did not. Huge opportunity. YouTube Shorts is TikTok, except it's YouTube, which means it's searchable. YouTube, if you don't know, is the second biggest search engine in the world. Google is number one, YouTube is number two. For some of you that have dyslexic tendencies like I do, you know why, because we don't read well, and so we need to listen or watch to learn. So if you make YouTube Shorts that are titled very smartly, that are localized to your business, or you could do some real damage, because unlike a YouTube video that if everybody here posted for the first time would get 7 views, like TikTok, your first YouTube Short might get 100,000 views. It is pure virality, it's huge, it's double huge. Like as much as the next thing that's gonna come out of my mouth is TikTok and I want you to do it, I know for a lot of you, YouTube is gonna work even better because of the search component that is not the same dynamic that happens in TikTok. So the fact that for me, if I have your job, and I know the mortgage, real estate, I know the room, the fact that I would spend my time on Facebook fan page first, YouTube Shorts second, TikTok third, is a profound shift in a room full of people that have Instagram first. And I know that people are feeling their Instagram numbers stalling and declining because it's macro. It's declining because the supply and demand curve is off. The supply is high. The demand, everybody under 30 went to TikTok. That's the game, forever. So, in very simplest terms, the number one thing I know that will work for this audience is having a foundation of 2 core things. Always following the underpriced attention, not the mature attention. And when I tell you everybody focuses on the mature attention, because it's easy, it's what you're stuck in, Instagram. That, along with what are we gonna do about a sustained content model? I think it's an interview show. I will always say this to this industry. In an industry that does their business locally, standing up an interview show that interviews people locally and then chopping that up will work. If you interview the principal of the high school and do the right titling on a YouTube short, do you know how many people decide where they want to buy a home based on the education framework? Enough, a lot. Enough that if they watch the interview of the principal that they're trying to decide if they're gonna go into this town is being interviewed by you and you happen to be selling homes, that's called business. Interview shows are easy because you just have to do a little prep, and if you're like me, you do no prep and you just ask generic questions and you roll with it. Hey principal, how's it going? I really need to figure out some sentence in this room that unlocks you to realize 10, 12 pieces of content a day is the only answer to the thing you're thinking about. So that's where we're at. Attention and content and information is the only game. And other things have gotten mature. When I was doing SEO and SEM in 1999, that was underpriced attention. How many people here have been doing SEM for their business for over 15 years? Raise your hand. Anybody? Right? Just a couple. Some of you remember how good of a deal that was? The stuff that used to pay 48 cents for is now $73. Supply and demand. I need you to understand supply and demand of attention, and I need you to understand that it's going to be content for a long time. We are within the half decade of people watching TikTok on television 24 hours a day. Social networks have won the next decade. Brand and business is built in social. You can do other things. You've got tactics that work, I'm sure. Direct mail, outdoor, networking. You know what to do. It's tried and true. To get value out of me being here today, I need this to be the moment you finally said, fuck it. I'm gonna try it again, or fuck it. I'm gonna try it for the first time, or fuck it. I'm gonna go 4x harder, because it's really this wild moment in time where all the attention's reshifting and the macro industry is going to decrease, which means the winners in this space are gonna win, and the winners, in my opinion, are gonna be the content producers. And you've gotta find your way. And it's tough because the platforms I'm telling you are video-based. You know, everybody loved Instagram because it was easy. I'm gonna take a photo. It's gonna look real good after I filter the fuck out of myself. And then I'm gonna write a couple sentences and it's gonna be super cool. That is not the current marketplace. I know you want it to be, because that's a fuckload easier than what you need to do now. But whether it's a podcast, a local show, one-offs, you're gonna need to figure out what your pillar content is so that you then can cut up and produce. You're also more than welcome if you love the game and you've got the time to produce for it. But I know it's not gonna be sustainable for most of you, which is why I'm pushing this pillar. And I put this out a long time ago, and a lot of people built businesses in many different industries off of it. But I think if you Google, and maybe somebody here can confirm it right now, but if you put, Gary Vaynerchuk content model, 84 pieces, I put that out a long time ago. It's obviously, the macros, right? Some of the details obviously change, but it'll give you a sense of what I'm talking about of like, make a macro thing, post-produce. Again, so many people here raise their hand following me. It's all I do. It's very obvious to you. You see what I do. I bring up stuff from 9 years ago and then clip me talking about something about 9. Like, you just have to put yourself in a position to actually do it. But I'm telling you, and I'll leave with this and we'll go into the chat, it's the answer to the quiz. You cannot leave Las Vegas and not produce a lot of content if you want to grow or sustain. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You're not my children. I actually give no fucks. I would just prefer you win because it's nice, and I like getting the emails 4 years later, 3 years later. Like, it's nice. I'd like you to win. This is the one thing you can control the most. I know it's around self-esteem and self-awareness of how to produce the macro thing. Written word, audio, video, figure it out, but figure it out. Thank you.
So Gary, thanks so much for doing that. I just actually was watching as an attendee just now, and I was like, YouTube Shorts. I'm not doing YouTube Shorts. And what's cool about YouTube, I guess, is the search, right? So
and not only that, YouTube Shorts is literally the most exact ripoff of TikTok of all time. Like, what I mean by that, the reason Instagram's a problem is you can't go viral. Nobody's posting and getting 6 million views on Instagram if they don't already have a massive platform. On TikTok and YouTube Shorts, you can. And for 99.999% of this audience, that's what we need. We need more awareness, and the platform's giving you that opportunity. Same thing with Facebook fan pages.
Big time. So we're going through a shift. You alluded to this in your talk right now, and people are honestly like doubting themselves, because the market's getting difficult. Like, I think everybody thought that they were the best player before, but the market was easy, right? So now you're doubting it. Like, what's the time, we see you crush it in literally everything you do now, but like, what's the time when you were doubting yourself, and how do you get over that for this group?
I've never doubted myself in business, but to answer your question, because I want to bring value, because that's just the truth, I haven't. It's the one thing I'm good at. Like, I also have never put myself in a position to need money. And that doesn't come from having it, that comes with living humbly and saving it. One of the great things about like immigrant mentality is I was just as happy in my 20s when I lived in an apartment that was a shithole for a decade as I am right this second being fancy. Like, I think the reason people get scared is because they can't sustain their bills. And then what even scares me more is they can sustain their core bills, but people don't like a couple of years of not having like fancy. Like, they don't want to go to a vacation that's not as nice as the one last year. Humans are bad at humility. Humans are bad at one step backwards, 2 steps forward. So it's a mentality game, which is why I've never been, but like many other things in my life, I was like doubted myself about. And it's, like, you just have to do it, right? Like, when I was like, ooh, I don't know if, like in high school, like, I don't know if I could go hit on the prettiest girl in school. It was just a game of like, you have to do it or you don't. It is what it is. And so rejection, whether boy-girl dynamics, whether the market, whether your business fails and your friends and family have judgment on you. A lot of people's problems in the world are based on they talk a lot of shit and put themselves in a corner for their failure. Like, I'm crushing it, you should have went into real estate, I told you I'm fucking crushing it, now you're not crushing it, and all those people you were shitting on, now it's their turn. And so the world can get a lot better for everyone if they lean into humility. And that doesn't mean not having confidence in bravado. That's why I'm so weird. I'm loaded with that. But in the underbelly, it's all humility. Like, what makes me palpable in a world where I'm like, is that I know I don't mean shit. That if, God forbid, I die tomorrow, I'll trend for a day on social and then you'll be moving on, right? And so, like, I think we need more humility.
Yeah.
Humility will help you with your fear. What? So you fail. Like, my big thing is when people shit on you for your failure, just shit on them back for theirs. Seriously, I'm always wondering, like, what? So you have to get a job now and you're out of those, and your aunt says, you see, and like, fuck you, aunt. What about Johnny, your son, my cousin? He's a fucking crackhead. Like, I really mean it. I really, like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you scared of? There's not a person on earth that's undefeated, so whoever shits on you, just shit on them back. Nicely.
Nice. So this leads into the next question, and you talk about humility. And this is one thing that shocks me about you, Gary, and people say this all the time. Why do you do things that are completely not scalable? Because, like, I look back at that email where you sent me an email at 1 a.m. on a Saturday, like, I'm in for 15. I couldn't think of, like, the least ROI use of your time to meet with Neil in Las Vegas for 15 minutes. And but you did it, and we did the podcast.
Because my North Star is to leave a kind legacy, not to maximize my time financially. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's kind of interesting, like, it's really the actual answer. Like, I can't believe that I'm at a point in my career where me doing something like that means a lot to someone. It is, like, crazy. And, like, I try to do it as much as possible. Like, nothing excites me more than when I find a macro second just to go into my DMs and reply to somebody who is just flabbergasted that I replied. It's flattering, and I know it's nice, and I always remember 15-year-old Gary. If I did that to Macho Man Randy Savage, and he replied, I would have lost my fucking mind.
That would be dope.
And so now that I'm on the other side of that for a certain amount of people that have a certain interest, I just want to do nice things to the best of my ability, and it makes me happy.
So I think you say yes to things that maybe people in this room would say no to.
Well, you know, this is where I get, you know that's true,
Yeah.
and that's my number one. I actually said it in the talk. A lot of you have gotten too fancy for the reality of what you've actually accomplished. I'm telling you, it's humility. I'm telling you. Like, I love when people are like, Gary, I can't reply to people. I had to hire somebody to reply. Why? You mean you don't want to. You mean you don't actually care. Gary, I want a community. Cool. Build a community instead of what you're really saying, Gary, I want customers. You know how many people here are like, why is my content not working? Because every piece of content you make is self-interest. Who the fuck wants to see your content of you selling them shit every fucking time? What the hell are you doing for them? The only reason people are raising your hand for me, the reason I'm different is I only go into my content of this needs to be valuable to them. Why in the world would they watch that? And occasionally back to jab, right hook. Yeah, I am gonna have a sneaker. Yeah, I am gonna have something. But then you ask, you don't expect. When I wrote jab, right hook, I made it very clear. Give, and then ask. What everybody heard was give, and then expect. The thing I love the most is when I crush 2 years of content without a single ask, then come out with something and it doesn't do that well, my team goes crazy. They're so upset. They're like, no, this should have been like, what the? And I'm like, you're expecting.
Yeah.
And then even worse, people are manipulators. I love people like, Gary, I'm getting walked all over. You know, nice guys finish last. I'm like, break it down for me. And what it is people give people things that they want something from. They give them something that person doesn't want, and then they're expecting something that they need. That's not giving, that's called manipulating. Nice guys.
Yeah, it's a huge thing, and I just think, like, of all the things that you do, and I mean, just watching you at VCon, and watching the stories and the YouTube videos afterwards, and the amount of time you spent there with fans, talking to all the, I mean, it looked like a 12-hour,
it was hard.
14-hour day.
Even for my mom said, you're the Energizer Bunny, but fuck, that was tough.
That was, yeah. And then you came on and did a talk like 2 days later, so it's crazy. So we do have some questions from audience, and let's bring up the first question if you can. This side, go ahead.
Hi.
Hey Gary, how's it going? So grateful for your time, Neil. Amazing event, amazing people. So my name is Amber Ibarra. I've built 2 construction companies that I've run. I've delegated that. I've had them for 9 years. Building out the coaching business this last year. And my question to you is this. Building VaynerMedia and the multiple businesses that you have, how have you created balance in your life? And what does that look like for you? And then looking back, what do you feel that you had to sacrifice to have the success you do now, or did you at all?
I don't think I sacrificed anything. And I think that's a confusing answer, and let me explain, because it has to do with the first part, which is, I probably had to sacrifice a billion things. What's balance? I love when people are like, work-life balance. I'm like, work-life balance is every single person in here's one-dimensional, one person's reality. You know, one of my great entrepreneurial friends has 2 autistic children. He's gonna be in a position where he can't do certain things that other people do. Everybody's got their own circumstances here. You know, so to answer your question, I probably sacrificed a ton. I definitely sacrificed my 20s of like memories and fun with my boys because I never saw that, right? I definitely did that. On the flip side, I changed my parents' life, right? That's a trade I'm willing to make. Like, would I have liked a little more balance? Of course. Who here wouldn't do shit differently if they could go back 10 years? We all would. We have the luxury of knowing what happened. That's the key. The reason I'm so happy is I make decisions knowing I don't know what would have happened if I made the other decision. Right? Like, I love when people are like, how do I make this call? And I use this analogy a lot for the people that follow me, the artists, but I want to share it. You may have a business decision that you make, and you made the right one financially. Like, when you go to heaven, they're like, good call, that was the right move. The problem is you might be in heaven 23 years earlier than you would have been if you made the other call because you got hit by a bus by making that decision. That butterfly effect, I didn't watch the movie, but whatever the fuck that is, that's real. Right? That's just real. This is what I'm trying to get people to like think about. Like, we have to stop making happiness have any relationship with money. We have to. Everything will change in the world. And I'm an entrepreneur. I like going garage selling and buying stuff for $2 and selling it for $8. But I don't see happiness and, you know, and money together. And so what that means is it reframes that whole question. I didn't build business for the money. I built it because it's the thing that makes me the happiest on earth. I do business the way people do golf. I do business the way people do cooking. I do business the way people do playing tennis or going on vacation or sailing. Like, there's nothing I'd rather do than play business, not for the money. And once you can get there, and that's why I'm always trying to like challenge this conversation, so I'm sure I sacrificed everything and nothing.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ben Rojas. I'm with EXP Realty Team Fast. Shout out. So we just got a ton. Neil, love your stuff. We just got a ton of scripts. We now have the list of where to post. And so in this noisy world, because we've got 2,000 people who are gonna fucking dominate on these channels, how do we get heard?
Heard by putting out content that people want to see, and that comes through testing and learning and listening. The reason I'm so good at content is because I read my DMs. By reading my DMs, I know what's on your mind. By knowing what's on your mind, it subconsciously goes into my mind and pops up in my answers. So by listening, I watch people who want to grow their audience and they've never replied to a comment ever. The audacity of expectation of people that produce content is staggering. 2,000 is nothing. You're competing against 8 billion, right? So the way you break through is by providing something of value. That means, I'll give you a good insight that will help all of you. When you are making content that's for them, make it purely about them. Too many people try to mix it in. They put it about them, and at the end they're like, and don't forget, I got an open house this Friday, which then changes the energy of the whole thing, right? You're mixing the jabs and the right hook in one piece of content. Separate them.
Thank you very much. Love it.
Thank you.
And that's really great because we were talking about in your comments, like to this day, I see you reply to people.
Yes.
At your
And
scale.
more importantly, I'm nowhere at this point in my career, but from 2007 to 2011, I replied to every single tweet I got. All of them. That's how I got here. I'm not on Shark Tank. I didn't fucking, like, I got here by building in these trenches, and in 2007, not a soul knew who I was on Earth. So 2007, 2011, I replied to all of them. And we just aren't grateful for what we have. You have 537 followers? Be grateful for the 6 people that reply to your stuff now. That's how you get to 16. But you don't do that. You're worried why somebody else has 40,000. We're in envy instead of appreciation, right?
My name is Dan Sandoval with Keller Williams, Southern Nevada here in Vegas.
Pleasure.
My question for you is, with lead generation being the #1 priority in all of our businesses, what would be the top 2 or 3 leverage you would focus on for us?
Content on social media.
All 3.
1, 2, and 3. I'll tell you why. Everything else is a commodity. Everything else, you can Google right now, real estate, mortgage leads, and you'll get 100 tactics on retargeting, landing page. That's the commodity. Got it?
Yeah.
Sales is something I adore. Do you know what sales are? Bad marketing. Got it? If you don't know how to market, you have to be a good salesperson. If you know how to market, you blow away the next 10 best salespeople. Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul. Branding wins every day of the week, but it's hard.
Appreciate it.
Got you.
And one thing really quick to add on that, you were talking about messaging, comments. I noticed that even ad effectiveness, ad reach is going down. Like we have to spend more to reach fewer people now.
Even on Instagram?
Yeah, and what my workaround, I don't know if I just stumbled into this, was just literally sending DMs.
100%.
But like I spent,
Yeah,
this
versus
room was
web.
filled by me sending DMs. The ads weren't really doing much. I just sent out thousands of messages.
It's the #1 thing. If
And
I
you can have
DM'd
voice.
everybody here, I could get half of them, a quarter of them, to buy a VFriend Series 2. I could. You spend 6 minutes, you explain why it's a good thing. Like, you could. You get to a place we all ebb and flow. Like, if you've got time, like if you're, and listen, this is just truth. It's not just people under 30. Other people have time for other reasons. But if you're under 30 and you're about that life and you talk that game that you're going to dominate, like, that's the best. Like, because you just have time. Yeah, I mean, everything good is unscalable.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Gary V, you changed my life, man. I lost my brother to drugs, fentanyl. I connected with you on Clubhouse. I think you remember me, right? My thing is, I'm going to build the biggest franchise ever called Kokomo Jays, and I'm my brother. Don't give up America. And I documented not to create just like you did the Jets. People are like, where's the coffee shop, Jeff? But it's the journey of what I've learned and the content I put out because of you, Neil. It's amazing. That's brought me here.
It's awesome.
At what point, and now right now, you said something that just spoke to me, right? I started to get almost Kyra executive assistant. I'll answer everything. I'm Jeff the entrepreneur. I'm gonna come humbly before everything. That's why I'm wearing the hoodie here, man. It's not flash, right? So that's why I love the backwards hat and everything. My question is now companies flying me out, I look at the social media, I basically take everything you do, I'm like, do this, just did it right now, we're all doing Facebook. What point do I stop telling that old story? Okay, because the old story to new people on Kokomo Jays. Like I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm the young kid who's gonna start a virtual show called Kokomo Jays. You're gonna be on it. I'll have you pay whatever to get you at my event. Like
63 million.
All right, dude, we got it. You write it down. You're worth it, man.
Go ahead, bro. So
How do I stop telling the old story? People say stop telling the old story. New people.
I think it's and, not or. I think people are like, don't tell the old story, tell the new story. And I'm like, tell both. Got it?
Yep.
Everyone's so obsessed with or when all the magic is and. Right? When I made the transition from wine content, that story, to business content, I didn't stop doing the wine show, I just added the business content. And like this is a very subtle point, like this is a life advice thing that I'm like really starting to try to, I'm like in the lab cooking in my own brain. This concept of and versus or is profound. I actually think it can solve our fucking political issues. Like and over or is something that I think a lot about, and it's happening right here with your question. Just add it.
Yeah, awesome. And I just want to say, I'm going to tell you something later. I wasn't supposed to ask a question. I came out here. I saw Dutch Bros Coffee, Optimist versus Pessimist. I make my team watch that. One of the best videos on YouTube. Neil, you're great. All right.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, we got time for one or two more. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm a LO, former teacher, so I'm going to read this one. I'm gonna
Please.
Gary, it is not easy balancing growing your business and being an awesome parent/spouse.
Yes.
How do you intentionally be there for your kids and family and grow your business at the same time?
By knowing that it ebbs and flows on your circumstance. I, like many people here, have ebbed and flowed in my family relations, my business relations. This all comes down to judgment. The reason people struggle is they're beating themselves up even when they're trying so hard. This is just about the conversation you're having with yourself. There is no perfect. Nobody's done it right. I think again, because a lot of people follow my content, I think everyone knows how I feel about my parents. I could speak for the next year about the things my parents did wrong. Right? You know this, right? We all know this a lot. I'm looking around the crowd. Remember when we would shit on our parents and now our kids are starting to get a little bit older and like, fuck! Right? Like, you could be the greatest parent of all time and your kids will rattle off 100 things, mainly because a lot of people in their youth don't want to be accountable. Right? So like, for me, this is a game of judgment. Like, people are trying out here. Yeah, sometimes you're gonna miss a ball game or like, and it's maybe you didn't want to, but like, I didn't see my dad the first 15 years of my life because he worked to build the American dream for us, and I love him more than anything. And yeah, I've got my things, but it's the best. And so like, I just would tell you and every parent in here and everybody who's got a partner, like, if you have the right intent and you try, and if you feel in your soul that you're going too far and like you're overworking the last 6 months, throw the curveball, break it up. Like, bite the bullet of your business momentum and take a week off. Like, you can. And like, you know, I just really wish that we loved ourselves more to respect that we're trying.
We're going to fit one more in. I mean, just selfishly, I want to ask real quick. You just brought up your dad, and I saw this piece of content where your dad was crying after. What happened? Like, what touched him there?
My dad does not run his company the way I run mine. He does not view his employees as family, not because he's a bad dude, because he was brought up in a country that instilled your employees steal from you, and it's been ingrained in him. And he really was like, I really felt what you were talking about. He was also seeing how my team was interacting. My dad does his thing.
It all hit him at once.
It all hit him at once. And then 3 weeks later, we went to France for a Vayner thing, and I got my parents to go as well, and he really saw it. The problem is, I was joking with him last week, he just needs to follow me around every other day because he gets really hyped, and then 3 days later somebody like does something wrong in the store and he loses all the momentum.
Yeah.
He's trying to figure out a model of sustainability.
All right, Azim, go ahead, last question.
Cool. Gary, I fucking love you. Your content's changed my life. I'm an actor and a new loan officer on Neil's team. My question is, if you had no money, no connections, and no experience in the mortgage real estate space, what would you do? What would you do to dominate as fast as possible?
The last part is the problem. I loved everything about everything. That word fast is your kryptonite.
Patience.
It's just everything. The reason I have analyzed very heavily, the reason why winners lose is because of fast. So what I would do now, what is the most strategic thing that may give you the potential for it to happen faster-ish is documenting the process of learning the mortgage industry through YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Facebook fan page.
Okay.
The authenticity that you're learning, documenting meetings with some veterans in the game, will be so endearing for the people on the other side. You will actually have people that reach out to you and say, I want to give this kid a shot, even though I'm not so sold he even knows what the fuck he's doing, because they're stable enough in their own way to go through it. So documenting, like titling the whole framework of like the journey to becoming.
Okay.
The biggest thing I tell kids is don't fake it. Like the faking to make it thing is a problem because it's all, that was cool pre-internet when none of that shit was recorded. Faking to make it was awesome pre-internet. just because you dress the part doesn't mean you are the part. That's super common in real estate land, right? And so being authentic and saying the journey of becoming versus
Right.
saying the young buck that knows
Right.
when people can tell that you don't.
Yeah.
Like tricking yourself is a losing formula.
All right, guys, give it up for Gary.